Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Senate Committee on Public Safety and Military Affairs. Today is January 24th, 2025, and we are in conference room 225. This hearing is also being streamed on the Hawaii State Senate YouTube's channel. A few housekeeping announcements. In the unlikely case of technical failures, this meeting will reconvene here in conference room 225 at 3:10 p.m. on January 27. For all testifiers, including those on Zoom, we ask that you stand on your written testimony. If your oral testimony is different from your written testimony, the time limit for each testifier will be 1 minute. The content, including the hearing notice and copies of the bills and testimony, can be found on the legislature's website. And if time permits, decision-making will occur after we hear from those offering testimony. I'd like to welcome our committee members. And before we begin off, I'd like to wish our fellow committee member, Senator Rhodes, a happy birthday. With that, our first item on our agenda is SB 48 relating to the State Building Code Council. Requires the State Building Code Council to assess the financial impact of the adoption of a code or standard on a single family and multifamily homes. Requires the State Building Code Council to also include amortized utility costs when adopting codes or standards, and amends annual reporting requirements for the State Building Code Council to include assessment of costs and determinations of benefits for residents. On our testifier list, we have Kiko Bukowski. On Zoom, Dennis Knight.
Not present on Zoom, Chair.
Okay. This one in person is Roseanne Freitas. Okay, standing on testimony and support. And we have Wayne Tanaka, Sierra Club, on Zoom.
Also not present on Zoom, Chair.
Okay. And then the other testifiers, but did not register, but I'll just read them. We have is John Shockey testifying for Free Access Coalition in opposition. Pamela Tumpap for Maui Chamber of Commerce in support. We also have Dave Molinex in opposition. David Arakawa from Lurf in support. Peter Wilson, Michael Colster, Bo Breda, Patricia Blair, Daniel Chan, Matthew Gorwich, Maki Moreno, Julio Magaes, Harriet Bolk-Holder. And these are all in opposition. Harvey Arkin, Mary True, Diane Ware, Millicent Cox, Sherry Pollock, Richard First, Shai Blair Stan, Barbara Bess, Colin Hayashida, Charles Ice, Sadie Green, Laura Leonberger, and Emily Gambino, all in opposition. Is there anyone that wishes to testify on SB 48? Okay, if not, members.
What is that?
SB 48.
Yeah, what is that?
It's relating to the State Building Code Council. Okay, if not, members, any questions? Okay, we'll move on to our next item, which is SB 120. Well, I'm going to go back if there's Kiko Bukowski or Pamela Tompap. Are they available, IT?
They are not available,
Okay.
Chair.
Thank you. We'll move on to our next item, which is SB 120 relating to building codes. This amends responsibilities of the State Building Code Council. First on our testifier list is Stella Cam, Deputy Attorney General. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. I'm Stella Cam, Deputy Attorney General. We've submitted testimony with comments that suggests amending other provisions within Chapter 107 HRS if this bill goes through, amending the responsibilities of the State Building Code Council.
Okay.
And I'm available for questions if you have any.
Okay. Thank you so much. Next registered testifier is Brian Imai on Zoom.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Chair Elefante and members of the committee. My name is Brian Imai. I'm the Hawaii Government Relations Manager for the International Code Council, a nonprofit corporation focused on building safety with over 64,000 members in 41 countries. I'm here because, unfortunately, ICC opposes SB 120 as written. And while we generally stand on our written testimony, I'd like to briefly elaborate on some concerns that ICC has with the bill. As currently written, the bill would codify the current adoption cycle change in Hawaii that would remove the current required adoption of modern building codes by the State Building Code Council 2 years after publication, and then adoption within 2 years following, and replace it with a recommendation system with no clear deadlines for building code adoption by counties. It also appears that the bill removes the method for the adoption of the state building code, which appears to conflict with other portions of section 107. So ICC would ask for clarification on the intent for that change. It's no secret that even with the current requirements in place, counties in Hawaii are often understaffed and find it challenging to adopt codes strictly adhering to the statutory timeline.
Thank you, Mr. Imai.
Thank you.
Next testifier didn't register, but we have Ted Kofelis from Grassroots Institute of Hawaii in support. Dennis Knight on Zoom in opposition.
Not present on Zoom, Chair.
Okay. Kiko Bukowski in
Excuse
opposition.
me. Dennis Knight is from Ashray. I'm also from Ashray. I'd submitted the testimony on his behalf. Would it be okay for me to speak?
We have your written testimony, but if you want to just highlight a few remarks, normally it's supposed to be the testifier who's registered.
My apologies. Yes, I would like to expand briefly on my written remarks.
Yeah, please proceed.
Yes. So at the heart of this, I think, is an idea that building codes and standards increase housing costs in the state, and that is something that we would like to contest. Our interest is most specifically in relation to the energy code in Hawaii. It is made in a way that references many of ASHRAE's standards. The most rigorous and accurate study on the cost versus the return on investment for code updates in Hawaii was conducted by the Pacific Northwest National Laboratory. Their conclusion is that living in a home built to a modern standard should save the homeowner about 15% on their energy bill, a bit over $900 per year. In terms of cost, they'd be looking at a down payment increase of about $288 and a mortgage increase of only about $6. This absolutely pencils out economically. Total upfront construction cost increase should be about $2,300. So yes, we do not believe that building codes are in any way responsible for high housing prices. Thank you. That
Thank you.
concludes my
And you said your
testimony.
name was Jacob Carson, is that correct?
Jacob Carson, yes.
Okay, thank you. Next we have is Gina Thielen from BIA.
Aloha, Chair, members of the committee. My name is Gina Thielen. I'm the Volunteer Building Codes Chair Committee for BIA Hawaii. I'm here to testify in support of SB 120. I always like to start off every conversation about building codes by sharing this, which takes a little bit to lift. When we talk about the building codes, this is the building code. Every 3 years, the organizations that sell these books to all of us republish these books. No one is making them do that. That's their own schedule. There's no advantage to the state of Hawaii by promoting the advancement of these codes. The fact of the matter is existing codes that we're building under are very safe and energy efficient. And there is an increase in cost with every single code cycle. So I would dispute that testifier that came before me. I would say that what we're trying to do here is eliminate some of the steps. We currently have a 3-tiered cake where we have a national organization on a 2024 code, a state on 2021 code, and counties on the 2018 code. This would. Oh, thank you.
Next testifier we have is Wayne Tanaka, from the Sierra Club.
Okay, good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Wayne Tanaka, Sierra Club of Hawaii. We are in strong opposition to this measure. Delaying, deferring building code updates will have significant long-term impacts on everything from insurance rates to tenant, resident, and first responder safety to costs of utilities. Our water security, our energy security, our ability to meet those kinds of demands. We think that this bill, just like SB 48, seeks to focus attention on upfront costs to developers, and in that process, ignores all of these long-term burdens we'll be taking on if we don't keep up to date with these well-vetted, well-researched standards that are, as the previous testifier mentioned, are actually developed from lessons learned from around the planet. So just respectfully ask that you hold this measure, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Wayne. Also, we have Reed Mizui in opposition, Pamela Tumpap in support, Dave Mullinex in opposition, David Arkawa in support, William Reese Liggett in opposition, Peter Wilson in opposition, Bo Breda in opposition, Michael Colster in opposition, Daniel G. Chun in opposition, Patricia Blair in opposition, John Shockley in opposition, Julio Maglahes in opposition, Harriet Burkholder in opposition, Matthew Gurwitch, Mary True, and Harvey Arkin in opposition. And some late testimony received is Diane Ware, Millicent Cox, Richard First, Sherry Pollock, Chai Blair Stan, Barbara Best, Charles Ice, Roberta Foster, Sadie Green, Laura Leonberger, and Emily Gambino, all in opposition. Is there anyone else that wishes to testify on SB 120? Okay. If not, members' questions? I have one question for Gina.
Yes, Chair.
Hi, Gina. Thank you for being here and for your testimony. So my understanding now is that with the emergency proclamation that the State Building Code Council has been suspended. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And I know I didn't see testimony from the different counties, and this bill would give the counties that authority. Does BIA, have they heard from county building departments in terms of what their position may be?
We have not heard positions on this bill directly, but what we have heard from them is that they are desperate for relief from the pace of change with building codes, that they're struggling to keep up and they're struggling to change their staff. Frankly, I think that they're all a little bit too overwhelmed to get involved in testifying on some of these measures. But generally, the conversations I've had with them, they support the concept. They really see the state as being a resource that can provide the research and information to them for them to be able to make the decisions they need to make at the local level.
Okay, thank you. Members, any questions? Okay, if not, thank you. Okay, our next item is SB 138 relating to taxation. This establishes a non-refundable income tax credit for taxpayers that incur costs related to the design, materials, installation, and construction of hurricane-resistant safe rooms. From the Department of Tax, we have Director Gary Suganuma. Okay, Department of Tax stands on the written comments. From Hawai'i, we have Administrator James Barros on Zoom.
Hi, Chair. Unfortunately, Administrator Barros is away on a meeting, but I wanted to just stand on his testimony with
If you
comment.
can identify yourself, Mr. Oki.
Yes, this is Ethan Oki from Hawai'i, Hawaii Emergency Management Agency.
Okay, so stand on your written testimony with comments.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Last on the testifier list we have is Tom Yamachika from Tax Foundation of Hawaii. on
Not
Zoom.
present.
Oh, in person.
Actually, not on Zoom.
Yeah.
Not this time.
It's nice to see you in person, Tom.
Once in a while, this
Yes.
happens.
Aloha and welcome.
Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Tom Yamachika from Tax Foundation of Hawaii. On this bill, we have some concerns because there are plenty of blanks in it. The credit rate, the per person cap, and the aggregate cap are all blank. So it's impossible to revenue estimate the bill and otherwise vet it. So we recommend that the blanks be filled in as soon as possible. Also, we conceptually have a problem with credits, and we would rather see programs like this be subsidies like how Hawaii Energy does it, because then you know how much you're spending, you know what you're getting, and you don't have to worry about floods of people coming in, and even if there's an aggregate cap, if the total of claims exceed the aggregate cap, then you have to deal with them next year. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Yamachika. That completes our list of testifiers for this item. Members, any questions? Okay. If not, we'll move on to our next bill, which is SB 112, relating to police reports. Allow surviving immediate family members of deceased persons for whom law enforcement initiated an investigation to receive a copy of the closing report prepared by the investigating police department after a specific period of time. First, from the Attorney General's office, Corey Young, Deputy Attorney General. Hi, welcome.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. I'm Corey Young, Deputy Attorney General, speaking on behalf of the department. We thank you for allowing us this time to offer comments. Just wanted to really emphasize a couple of points. One, we did ask that if the bill goes forward, that a section be dedicated to allowing for redactions. As we noted in our testimony, the closing reports will often have witness information, including confidential personal information, social security numbers, dates of birth, information like that. We would ask for it to be explicit that the police or whoever is redacting this be allowed to redact that, as well as the names of minors who might have been interviewed or who might have been part of the investigation. What we have seen in other cases where minors are involved is the first initial of the minor's name might be allowed in, but the rest of the name has been redacted to keep their anonymity. Other than that, we would just emphasize that, you know, everyone can empathize with these families seeking closure, but a lot of times law enforcement is not withholding these reports to try and obscure what's going on.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll be available with any questions.
Okay, thank you. And next we have is Daniel Hugo from the Prosecuting Attorney's Office.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the committee.
If you can identify yourself.
Yes, Daniel Hugo from the City and County of Honolulu Department of the Prosecuting Attorney. We submitted written comments in opposition to this bill, and we identified 4 of the major concerns that we had. But I just wanted to also note that under the current law, HRS Section 92F15, there is a judicial remedy to review an agency's denial of these reports. So there is a process for a judge to review this. The Office of Information Practices can also review it, and that's under HRS Section 92F 15.5. And if the committee has any further questions, I'm available. Thank you.
Thank you. That completes our list of testifiers for this item. Is there anyone else in the audience that wishes to testify?
Yeah, no, I was just,
Oh.
this is it, yeah.
Yes, please come forward. Aloha and welcome. If you can state your name for the record, please.
Aloha Winala. My name is Andrew Nakoa Sr. I'm here to testify on, actually, I think they should let people like me get access to the report, because when I tried to, when my son was murdered, it took like years, and we had to pay page by page. I don't think that's right. So I think I agree with Christine that we should have a bill for that. And you know, being that it's been 20 years since no justice still, you know, I mean, it's just the point of you know, like I've been trying 20 years to get justice and still nothing. But the parties have finally got the report, and now they're saying the report is not worth anything because it's been 20 years ago, where all the people that had been interviewed, they no longer live where they used to live. You know what I mean? Like some of them moved out. So that's why they say most of the report is kind of squashed, because they cannot get a hold of the witnesses, you know? And then the whole thing is that my son was murdered. I mean, just to explain that, he had no, defensive wounds, right? And this guy claimed that it was self-defense. My son was surrounded by them, and one of them would stab him. And that's what happened.
Thank you, Mr. Nakoa.
Wow.
Anyone else that wishes to testify on SB 112? Not members, questions? Senator Rhodes?
Andrew,
Oh, Mr. Nakoa?
if you got time, if you have time, I did have a question for you.
Me?
Yeah.
Mr. Burrows.
So your son was killed in 2000 and
October 15, 2004.
2004. When did you get the report?
10 years after, maybe?
When did you start to try to get the report?
After like maybe a year after. 3
So
years.
it took roughly 9 years. Is
Yeah.
that fair? Okay. And in the report, there were things marked out, weren't there?
Yeah.
So redactions were already occurring. They marked stuff out. They didn't put in people's social security numbers and stuff like that.
No, they actually, because this guy, the suspect was underage, he was like 17, so they black out his name.
Okay.
Right? And then certain people's name was also.
How much did they want to charge you for it?
Well, I don't know, like $5 per page or something like that.
How long how big was the report?
Like almost 40 pages.
So $5 a page.
Too much.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that you couldn't afford that?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Chair. Thanks, Andrew. Appreciate
Thank you,
it.
Mr. Quarles.
Thank you, Mr. Nicole, for being here. Members, any other questions? Chair has questions for Deputy Attorney General Young. Hi, Chair. So the committee's received your testimony. I know you did mention something else. I don't know if that was in addition to your written comments on the redaction part. Is that in addition, or is that
No, that
contained
was-
in your testimony?
It's contained.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Okay. If not, we'll move on to our next bill, which is SB 88, relating to the Hawaii National Guard, authorizes the payment of allowances for TRICARE dental program and vision coverage to all officers, warrant officers, and enlisted personnel of the Hawaii National Guard ordered to active duty for more than 30 days. First on the list is Walter Ross, Director of the Joint Chief for the National Guard, in support. Yes, Colonel? Welcome, if you can state your name.
I'm Colonel Jamie Lynn Thompson, Chief of the Joint Staff. I'm here representing General Ross as well as the TAG General Logan, standing on our written testimony in support of SB 88, and I'm available for any questions as needed.
Okay, thank you so much, Colonel. We have General Logan testifying for the Department of Defense in support. Raymond Maui Kizon in support. Michael Gulachuch Sr. in support. Regina Komine in support. Ricardo Martin in support. Tai Tanaka in support. Misty Caps in support. Darylyn Lee in support. Ryan Shular in support. Colonel Kevin Horton in support. Dana Ayala in support. Eliza Dia Kanai in support. I'm sorry if I mispronounce your name. Grant Remington in support. That completes our list of testifiers. Is there anyone else that wishes to testify on SB 88? Okay, if not, members, questions? Okay, seeing none, move on to our next item, which is SB 116 relating to discrimination. This establishes provisions relating to civil remedies for discriminatory reporting to a law enforcement officer, provides that any person who contacts a law enforcement officer to contact a person on the basis of the person's actual perceived race, color, ancestry, ethnicity, national origin, place of birth, sex, age, religion, disability, sexual orientation, or gender identity with the specific intent to infringe upon the person's certain rights, requires the Department of Law Enforcement in consultation with the Hawaii Civil Rights Commission to provide guidance to the public on the enactment of this act. On our testifier list, we have Kathy Seal for testifying for the Department of Law Enforcement in support. On Zoom, Abby Simmons.
Hello, Chair. Hello, Chair, Vice Chair, esteemed members of the committee. My name is Abby Simmons. I am the chair of the Stonewall Caucus of the Democratic Party of Hawaii, and I'm testifying. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, apologies for that. I'm testifying in strong support on behalf of our caucus. We do stand on our written testimony. I would like to, however, add one comment. This bill really comes at a time when we're seeing increased reports in media about people being harassed about not looking American enough, whatever American enough looks like. So I ask you to please support this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Victor Ramos in opposition, Michael Older in support, Lynn Robinson Ondenko in support, and Isis Usborne in support. That completes our list of testifiers. Is there anyone else in the audience that wishes to testify on this item? Yes.
Angela Melody Young, testifying in strong support. So the legislature finds that the vigilance of an individual citizen can keep communities safe through the reporting of witnessed criminal conduct to law enforcement. Yet it seems like there are people who are abusing their power to report things. And when it affects protected classes, I think it's a civil right? When you have harassed someone, for example, they don't look American enough, they look like, oh, they from Waianae, oh, they probably got plenty of things going on in that neighborhood, and you're gonna try to arrest them? That is not what's supposed to happen. So that's a discriminatory practice. And so we do neighborhood security walk. We've organized with, like, for example, of a beach district, and within our churches with MGMC, Mauna Lua Gardens. So we're really
Thank you, Ms.
supportive
Young.
of law enforcement
Thank you.
procedures and to elevate the
And
procedures.
if you could submit those written comments to the committee.
For sure.
Thank
And
you.
Thank you.
Okay, that completes our list of testifiers. Anyone else in the audience that wishes to testify on SB 116? Okay, if not, members, short recess, IT. For the Committee on Public Safety and Military Affairs, we're reconvening. This is our 3 p.m. Friday, January 24th, 2025 agenda. Members, Chair's recommendation for the first two measures, SB 48 and SB 120, and seeing the written testimony and also not seeing any written testimony from the county building departments, Chair's going to recommend both of those measures be deferred. Any further discussion on that? Okay. If not, next measure is SB 138 relating to taxation. Chair is going to recommend that we pass with amendments. We're going to accept Dole Tax's suggested amendments on page 2 of their testimony to read as follows: Section 235H be added H, no other tax credit or deduction shall be claimed under this chapter for qualified expenses for the taxable year. And we're going to amend the effective date to July 1st, 2077, and any technical amendments. Any discussion on that? Okay, if not, Vice Chair Wakai for the vote.
Members, we're about to vote on Senate Bill 138. Chair's recommendations to pass this measure with amendments. Chair Elefante?
Aye.
I vote yes. Senator Fukunaga?
Aye.
Senator Rhodes?
Aye.
Senator Decort?
No.
Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Moving on to our next measure, which is SB 112 relating to police reports. Chair is going to recommend that we pass with amendments. We're going to accept the AG's suggested language by deleting the word from section 52D, A, beginning at page 2, line 12, quote, comma, the passage of 5 years after, close comma, through the end of subsection A at page 2, line 21. This is also in the written comments. And then on page 2, line 11, the word any criminal proceeding should be changed to all criminal proceedings. And we're gonna also take the suggested language from the AG's, a provision that would require the redaction of information pertaining to minors and confidential personal information such as birth dates and social security numbers when the report is released. And we're gonna make any technical amendments and leave the effective date as it is. Any further discussion on the recommendation? Okay, if not, Vice Chair for the vote.
Members, Chair's recommendations to pass Senate Bill 112 with amendments. Chair Elefante?
Aye.
I vote yes. Senator Fukunaga?
Aye.
Senator Rhodes?
Aye.
Senator Decort?
No.
Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you so much, Vice Chair. Our next measure is relating to the Hawaii National Guard, SB 88. Chair's recommendation is to pass as is. Any further discussion? If not, Vice Chair for the vote.
Members, we're about to vote on Senate Bill 88, noting the presence of all members. Any opposition or reservations to the chair's recommendation to pass this measure as is? Not, chair recommendations adopted.
Okay, thank you so much. And our final item on the agenda is SB 116 relating to discrimination. Chair's recommendations to pass with amendments. We're going to amend the effective date to July 1st, 2077, and any technical amendments. Any further discussion? Okay, if not, Vice Chair for the vote.
Noting the presence of all members, any opposition or reservations to the chair's recommendation, we pass this measure with amendments. You've seen and heard none, chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Okay, this concludes our 3 p.m. agenda for today. We are adjourned.